Hello everyone, and thank you for assisting to this presentation. I'm Laura Chastanier and I'm a PhD student at 3D Fab platform. I am working on a collaborative project between 3D Fab and Sartorius, and today I'm here to talk about the use of 3D printed single-use bioreactors for the cultivation and maturation of large bioprinted tissues. So first, what is 3D Fab? 3D Fab is a technological platform specialized in 3D printing for medical applications. It's a platform of the French Institute ICBMS, and we work on the research and development of new technologies, from proof of concept to technological transfer to industrial or academic partners or hospitals. And we are able to produce medical devices that respond to the quality regulations. So now I'll explain the interest of using 3D printed single-use bioreactors for the cultivation of large bioprinted tissues, and I'll focus on the application in regenerative medicine. So the objective here is to be able to sample some cells from a patient who needs a graft, and to use this to amplify these cells in vitro in a laboratory, and then to use these cells to bioprint a new tissue. This tissue will then be maturated inside of a cultivation system and until complete maturation, and the final maturated tissue is aimed to be implanted back into the patient. So what do we call maturation? Maturation for us is cell growth inside of the tissue, but it can also be secretion of specific molecules such as extracellular matrix for dermis tissue, for example. It can also be tissue structuration or cell differentiation. It depends of the targeted tissue. And the challenge here is that for now there are no existing tools for large engineered tissue culture and maturation. So the idea here is to develop single-use bioreactor systems that will allow us to go from bioprinted tissue to a matured tissue that has the same mechanical and functional properties as native tissues. These bioreactors will need to respond to some requirements. For example, the first requirement is that the bioreactor must be tissue specific. Indeed, each tissue and organs will have different size, shapes, functions, and needs, and thus the bioreactor must be adapted to the targeted tissue to provide optimized and specific culture condition and stimulation for this tissue. The second requirement is that the bioreactor must be patient-specific. Indeed, everybody has a different morphology, and thus they can have different organ size. And the idea here is to develop a bioreactor that will be designed after a patient, so it will be designed specifically for a patient. To produce this bioreactor, we use 3D printing because it gives us a lot of freedom on the design of the culture vessel. We are able with 3D printing to create complex shapes that will be specific of the tissue and of the patient. To print these vessels, we have lots of printing technologies available at 3D Fab. We are able to print from tough material to softer materials. We can also print implantable or non-implantable materials. And what is very interesting here for printing of single-use bioreactors is that for tissue engineering is that we have access to technologies that allows us to print cellularized materials, so we can bioprint engineered tissues. And we have also access to technologies to print acellular materials that will allow us to print the single-use bioreactors. I've been talking a lot about bioprinting, but maybe you're not all very familiar with it, so I'll explain quickly what is bioprinting. Bioprinting can have lots of different applications, but one of the applications of bioprinting is regenerative medicine. So the objective here is to be able to reconstruct damaged or diseased tissue or organ. There are different ways to replace a damaged tissue. The first method is to use grafts. It's the most conventional, but it needs heavy operation and treatment. So an alternative is to use regenerative medicine. There are two main fields in regenerative medicine. The first one is tissue engineering, and the second is cell therapy. The two main methods for tissue engineering is first to use three-dimensional cell cultures, and the second one is to culture the cells in 2 dimensions and then to combine these 2D cell cultures to create a 3D structure. And bioprinting is one of the 3D culture methods. So now, how do we bioprint a tissue? There are different bioprinting technologies, but at 3DFab we use pneumatic extrusion. The first step to bioprint a tissue is to mix the cells inside of an hydrogel. This cellularized hydrogel is called bioink. The bioink is then extruded by pneumatic extrusion through a needle into a filament. And here this filament will be deposited layers by layers until reaching the final shape of the tissue. This bioprinted tissue is then consolidated with chemical and enzymatic reactions, and this consolidated tissue is then cultured to favor cell growth and maturation and tissue maturation. And this maturation process usually lasts for 15 to 20 days. The interest of bioprinting will allow us to easily scale up our tissue. For example, we can go to small size tissues that are used in conventional static cultures to larger tissues to cultivate inside of a bioreactor. And the idea here is to be able at the end to print physiological size organs and tissues. With the standard culture condition, in static condition in the bioreactors, there are some limitations to the maturation of large engineered tissue. The first is a size limitation due to a limited diffusion of oxygen and nutrient inside of the 3D structure. And the second is an incomplete tissue maturation because the tissue is not cultured in optimized conditions, and the conditions are not specifically suitable for the tissue. So the idea here is to use bioreactors to recreate physiological condition and stimulation that will favor a faster and a complete maturation of the tissue to reach physiological size tissue with functions and mechanical properties that are equivalent to the ones of native tissues. So what about the bioreactors for tissue maturation? As I said before, for now there are no existing tools for culture of large-scale tissues. But if you check in the literature, you can find some systems that have been in-house developed by some people that have been targeting specifically either tissue stimulation or control of culture parameters and tissue scale-up, or understanding of liquid flow inside of the tissue. These 3 examples are part of the more advanced systems that you can find in the literature. The idea here is to be able to combine these knowledges about tissue bioreactors and to combine it also with the general knowledge we have on industrial bioprocesses to create a patient and tissue-specific bioreactor with full control of culture parameters, understanding of flow dynamic in the tissue, and tissue-specific stimulations. So in the lab, we are working with this setup that we developed. We here are using a controller to monitor and regulate pH, oxygen, and temperature inside of this small-scale cube. So in this cube, the volume of media is adapted to the size of the tissue, and the bioprinted tissue is cultivated here inside this single-use 3D printed chamber. The tissue is fed by a perfusion with the media that is regulated inside of this cube. And during the culture, this chamber is placed inside an external incubator that allows to maintain the tissue chamber at 37 degrees to compensate the heat loss of the perfusion. System, we are able to monitor and to regulate the culture parameters inside of the cube. As you can see on this graph, these are two examples of parameter monitoring for two cultures. And with this system, we are able to set a value that is interesting for us. For example, if for a tissue it's more interesting to have a 60% oxygen, dissolved oxygen, we can do it. If we want a lower oxygen concentration, we can have a lower oxygen concentration. So we can regulate these three parameters to optimal values depending on the tissue. Now I'll go more in detail about the steps for the development of 3D printed single-use culture chambers. So for the development of the printed chambers, we first had to make a list of requirements. So for the production process, we want to have a high freedom on the design to be able to make it specific to the tissue and the patient. We want to have a fast production and to be able to have a production on demand. And bioprinting was responding to these three requirements. As for the material, we want to have a good printability, which means we want to have a high fidelity to the model, which will allow us to print complex shape. And we also want a material that will not allow liquid leakage. The material must be sterilizable by autoclave, biocompatible, have no interaction with the culture media, and for easier tissue monitoring during the culture, we want it to be transparent and to have low roughness. So we had to make studies about to identify the best technology to use for these bioreactors and the best materials to use. So for now, among the different technologies that we have in the lab, we have been using three different techniques, which are inkjet, digital light processing, and liquid deposition modeling. We've been evaluating different materials with these techniques as a candidate for bioprinting of the chambers. So we have been studying silicone-based materials and acrylate-based materials. And by switching from silicone to acrylate-based materials, we have been able to improve the printing properties and sterilization. And thus, we have been able to print more complex shape, which allows us to increase the control of the flow circulation inside of the tissue. The results I will present next are a chamber printed with this material. It's a material we are working a lot with, and very recently we started to study and to evaluate this new material as a candidate for 3D printing of the chambers. Here are some examples of the single-use chamber we are producing. So these different designs are specific to one type of tissue, and we were able to design them by computational assisted design. And from this file, we were able to print the actual culture chamber for the tissue. Each chamber has a specific function. For example, this chamber was printed for dermis culture, and it allows to avoid tissue shrinkage during the maturation due to the secretion of extracellular matrix. This one chamber was designed for vascular tissue and is aimed to create an intravascular and an extravascular flow to allow local differentiation and maturation of the cells inside of the tissue. And this last chamber was designed to have a multiple flow entry and exits to be able to simulate either homogeneous or heterogeneous flow repartition on the tissue, because the homogeneity or heterogeneity of the flow will have an impact on the tissue maturation. To do so, we need to use the chamber design and also the tissue design, and from these designs we are able to simulate the flow inside of this tissue. Using this simulation, we were able to carry out cultures in large porous tissue with these culture chambers over 15 days, and we were able to observe cell growth and tissue maturation inside of the cultured tissue. As an example, here there are some results of a culture that was carried out in this with this tissue and the culture chamber with homogeneous flow repartition. In these pictures, you can see the structure of the tissue, which is this tissue. Here, you can identify the filaments here, and the porosity on the center of the tissue. And the green dots are cells that have been stained with calcine staining. Calcine staining is a live cell staining. What we can see here on this picture is that this tissue that was cultured in this system have cells that in this tissue, the cells have been growing inside of the bioink filament pretty homogeneously, whereas in this tissue, that is a control that was cultured in static conditions, the cells, you can see that the cells have been growing on the surface on direct contact with the culture media, and they have not been growing inside of the bioink filament. So this is probably due to a bad diffusion of nutrient and oxygen inside of the bioink in static condition. And it shows that by using bioreactor, we have been able to reach a cell growth inside of the tissue structure and inside of the bioink filament. As a conclusion to this presentation, our objective here was to develop a process for the maturation of large-scale bioprinted tissue. And for this, we developed a technique for 3D printing of single-use tissue and patient-specific chambers that can be connected to a bioreactor setup, mimicking the optimal physiological and condition and stimulation for the tissue. Now the next step would be to integrate online analytics into the 3D printed chambers to work on new designs and simulation for the tissues, and also to investigate a new component for the 3D printing of the chambers. I would like to thank all the contributors to this project. So first, thanks to all the 3DFab team, and I want also to thank all the external contributors to this project. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and I would be very pleased to answer to all your questions.